Hey guys, welcome into the PuggoReborn channel. Today I want to talk to you about my top 10 things I wish I knew when I first started playing Call to Arms Gates of Hell. As time has gone on and I've been playing this, I've learned that there's a lot of tactics that really need to be known in order to make a difference on the battlefield, especially in a micromanaged game like Call to Arms. So, for those who are coming over from Liberation DLC, welcome in. This guide should help you get your feet under you so that you can be a more effective general on the battlefield. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting off with number 10, the thing I use a lot, especially as a YouTuber, is cinematic view. So essentially, you're going to press Alt, Control, Shift, and D. If you press them all together at once, this is what you get. You get rid of all the HUD stuff. You can take pictures of a cow next to your tank. Really cool, just chilling. You know he loves it. Get out of the get a little shade underneath that barrel. But yeah, no, you can use this. You can also get special photos and stuff. You can go to the Gates of Hell community. They have like a photo of the week, which you can submit that. But yeah, it's an incredible way, and you can actually play the game in this mode too. I can still move the tank around and do everything I want. But yeah, I wish I had known this when I had first started because it made my YouTube life even that much better. Number 9 is very simple. Recon units. I think recon is one of the most important things in the game. Being able to get intel can only make you better on the battlefield as the commander. And so what we'll start with this is these are our soldiers, right? Their range only exceeds where the black fog of war comes in. Now there are cows in this field a little bit farther out, and we can't see them right now. But recon units, which are just these soldiers right here. A lot of times you'll see the little eyeball above the icon there. Let me just kind of get in spot. So the eyeball above the icon means that they have a further range to see. Now they don't get a stealth bonus. This specific unit doesn't. If you do see leaves in by the eyeball, that means they do get stealth, but they do not get a stealth bonus right now, so just keep that in mind. If they get spotted, it's going to be a little easier. But as you can see, I bring this truck forward, and you are going to see that line really start to expand. Now he's lined up with the soldiers, and it went from here all the way out. So you're getting about a 20% bonus in range, or 25% rather. So there's that. The next thing I would say, the soldiers
already on it, sir, are
a little bit less visible. Obviously the truck noise and everything else, if you're facing somebody, they're going to be able to hear that. But again, this soldier moving up, let's say to this cow, look how much range he's able to see. He's able to see that point. Now, why this is so important is because they can't see him at that range. You get a massive advantage. If you have artillery, you have tanks, you're going to be able to spot things, destroy them, get around, do a little bit of covert ops, and be more effective. Which brings us to our next one. Now that we know about recon, it's very important to understand your fire mode. Fire mode is very simple.
Ready to go, sir.
Down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see a bullet shooting off, right? In the firing mode, it says fire at will. What this pretty much means is if it sees something it can shoot, it'll shoot it. If I click it once, it says hold fire. Doesn't fire at all, no matter what the circumstances is. And finally, return fire. If shot at, he will shoot back. But it's out of self-defense, essentially. So why this is so important is because if I take this recon unit, and I say there's a cow in this field I can't see, and I run up to this hedgerow, right? And I look, oh, look at that. That cow just appeared. Here we go. Let's say this is an enemy cow. He has udders like you would not believe. Can fire, it's like quad guns under there, right? But in all seriousness, if this is an enemy and he sees him, the first thing he's going to do is aim his gun and fire. Now, in doing that, this soldier will turn around and just start blasting him. We do not want that. The idea with recon is to get information so you can be effective on the battlefield. So the first thing I like to do with my recon units is I like to switch it to return fire for starters. Now, why this is because if by happenstance there's this cow, and this cow is like, oh my gosh, there's your recon, he's going to fire, you want to have some sort of defense. Now, what's the situation where you don't want him to fire at all? Well, let's move our soldier around into the next field. If I put him in a bush so he has some sort of concealment, The last thing I want is for him to shoot at somebody because someone shoots past him. Let me explain that. So over here, we have ourselves a bunch of soldiers. These soldiers are set up to fire at will. If anybody shoots at them, they're going to shoot back. If they see something that they can kill, they're going to kill it. However, what you may not notice is the 2 recon units. Let's say they're set up to return fire. Let's also say that the enemy doesn't see them. They only see these soldiers. Even though they're not being shot at directly head on, as long as those bullets are within the radius and shooting at these guys are going to take it as self-defense, and they're just going to start shooting back. Okay? That poor cow, I need to put him down now. There we go. Okay. So why it's important to have hold for fire, I like to have a lot of my guys, if they're set up in a spot where it's like, I need to know if enemy reinforcements are coming this way or if they're coming through C. And I don't want him to get spotted. I'm going to put him in a bush. I'm going to make sure he doesn't fire under any circumstances. If he dies, that's just part of the game. That's going to be the firing modes. The same thing can be like this. A lot of times when I'm first starting my matchup, I'll put all my soldiers on return fire only because I don't know what's coming. Number 7 is a 2-parter, starting with the medics. First off, the medics can be, with the micromanaging in this game rather, there are a lot of things you need to do in a short amount of time. Clicking on one soldier at a time and healing a guy takes way too long. However, if I hold shift and right click each soldier in a row, he will prioritize healing them in the way that I had it set up. So let's talk about anti-tanks, right? These ones right here are actually anti-tanks. If I just click once, if I do a left click, the soldier's going to go over and put that 1 mine down. Now, he has 9 mines, so we don't want to do that. We don't want to micromanage 1 mine at a time. Now, let's say you're in a hurry and you just want all your mines down, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold right click, however, and I'm just going to drag. He's going to put all of his mines down right here. Now, granted, there's more than 9 that are put down right here, but he's just going to do it in succession in how I clicked and dragged. Now, if I want to do this where I don't know which way they're coming, I don't know if they're coming down this road, or I don't know if they're coming down that road, or the front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put down mine individually. We're going to pull down shift, and we're going to left click each spot that I want to put mines down. Now, this gives you more options and more, coverage of area. That way it's not just a cluster of mines, because the truth is, if you do run over 1 mine, there's a possibility that the other mine goes off as well. Now, moving over to the engineers. At the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you're going to see emplacement options. When we click on this, we have ourselves the small barricades. We have ourselves the big barricades. These are all sandbags, by the way. We have barbed wires. We have the palisades, otherwise tank barriers. Small foxholes, we can make 100 of those, or we can do 5 large foxholes. We also have the tank entrenchment. What we're going to do is we're going to grab the palisades, and we're going to hold shift, and we're going to left click each spot that we want the palisades. Now, he is going to put it in the order at which I put it down, and this will keep tanks from coming through this area. In terms of barbed wire, let's say I don't want any of the soldiers coming through here either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now right click, and I'm going to drag my mouse. Now, my soldier, the engineer, is going to put up the barbed wire right along this. The only way they're going to get through is if somebody, like a truck, breaks the wall and then opens up a path for people to come through. Let's say I want to put down, now that we have some sort of defense here, pretend that that's finished, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to drag left click, different high sandbags. So now we can put our soldiers down. We can have little peaks holes here where maybe we put down like, MGs or whatever the case is. So that way they can shoot between. But this is how you can build a defense. Number 6 is going to go to the commander for a few different reasons, but one specifically. Starting out, he has these binoculars. If you look on the mini map here, you're going to see that his binoculars can see really far. If you want more information on the commander, check out the guide in the description section below. Besides that, the thing that makes the commander tick and why he's so stinking important is because of his ability to cap points. If I take these 5 soldiers, each soldier is worth 2 to the cap. Here's another 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. If I take these soldiers and leave them here, the flag's going to go up whatever. But let's say these are all enemies. Let's say all these guys are enemies and they're all in the point. The commander alone has the highest cap value of any unit, any squad in the game. Which means that if he's standing on the point, he can take whatever from the enemy. One of the tricks that you can use with the commander is hiding him in a point. If you can hide him or have him protected, you can keep the point until he's dead. This will force soldiers to have to get creative to be able to take the point over from you, but ultimately, he is the king of capping points. Number 5 is going to be focused around the AT units. We have ourselves the flamethrower, we have the grenadier, and we have ourselves the bazookas. Now, how and why are these effective? Well, you may not think that the grenadier would be a good unit to really take on tanks in general. However, with the heat rounds, you're able to do some nasty damage. But I want you to know what you should be firing at. When you are firing this weapon, you want to hit the head. The reason is because if you damage the head to the point, number 1, you shock the troops, which allows you to reload in time. Number 2 is that you can actually destroy the turret head.
Ready, sir.
Now, granted, I am pretty close. We can come back a little ways. Heat is a copper slug that burns a hole through the tank, right? And if you hit it just right, you can hit vitals that blows up the tank. Otherwise, we'll just take out the head in general.
Holy shit, they got the turret.
Yes, they did. So keep that in mind. AT, fantastic. These units are great. The armor on these are actually pretty comparable to some of the mid-tier armors, especially the later Stuarts. Next is the bazookas. Now bazookas, yeah, the AT as well. So the heat rounds. Bazookas do have a decent range, and again, we have that 100 armor pen, but they can get wild. So you want to be relatively close. And as long as you hit your target, you can be dangerous. A lot of times I like to hit right underneath the star, and there's a good chance you can actually blow the tank up. Again, I always tell people, try your best to hit that head. Because if you take out the turret, the tank becomes way less scary. If you take out the engine, of course, that's going to mess things up. If you're worried about them being really aggressive, go after the tracks. But yeah, you take out the head, the tank is going to be panicking. When it comes to flamethrowers, it's very simple. Always aim, do not hit anything. I mean, if it's an open hatch, sure, you can kill this guy. And you'll notice they're all going to pop out of here, the world burn and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Eventually, you might get lucky and kill everybody in the tank with that. Because it's, like, again, the open hatch. But when it comes to taking on tanks, hit the engine. Always hit the back of the tank. As soon as you see the engine on fire, the tank is completely destroyed. There's no fixing it. It's gone. Anybody inside is going to melt. And it doesn't take much to get it to catch on fire. As soon as you see it, it's over. You can kill any vehicle like this. Just overheat the engine, and it is completely over for the enemy. Number 4 is based around how to switch ammo to different ammo types, and the ammo types themselves based on the color. Now, I will say this right now. There are many different types of ammo underneath the umbrella of these colors. We'll go over that in a little bit, but what I will say is for a more comprehensive guide, I will direct you over to Sir Jellybean's channel. He does an incredible job talking about the individual shells, so check his channel out. So starting out, whether you're clicking on a tank in third person, first person, or tactical view, all you have to do is press the space bar. He will immediately switch to the next shell, and you'll see a little loading screen in there, which is just indicating that they're switching to that shell in general. Now,
yes, sir.
The colored shells, right? So starting out, we have ourselves the orange shell. Now, the orange shell is pretty much armor piercing. It is a shell that's based around velocity. The closer you are, the more damage, the more armor piercing you're going to do. There are many types underneath the umbrella of... Now, the one that we're looking at right now is armor piercing cap, ballistic cap, high explosive. The armor piercing cap is the initial punch into a tank. The ballistic cap is which forces the armor piercing through the tank And finally, the HE, which is high explosive, is after the ballistic cap pushes the round into the tank, it causes an explosion doing damage all over the place. You could hit vitals to where you blow up the tank because you're hitting the ammo rack. You could take out the engine. You could take out the driver and the gunner next to the driver. You could take out the head. There's a lot of instances where you can do damage to the actual tank. You could use this against soldiers, but I would definitely only use it if you're reloading your machine gun and you need it in a pinch. Otherwise, focus on killing tanks. That's generally what orange is. What I like to do, as you can see that little hole right there, I like to go right underneath the star, or right about here. And you can do some really nasty damage with that. See the little shell shooting out the back. Alright, next, HE. HE is red. This red shell, there's only one type of HE, and that is HE. Now, there are many different sizes of HE. Thing you need to know about HE is that you want to use it against soldiers and light vehicles. Now, if the shell gets to be really big, like a 150, right? On direct impact of a tank, you can actually destroy the tank, or you can take out a lot of vitals on the tank. Now, if you are going to use this against the tank with smaller shells, aim for the track so that way they can't make them immobilized. If you're going to use the shell, use it against soldiers. It is the best way. Next one is green. Now, the green shell is literally a needle. It's based completely on velocity. It is literally it's a precision shot with armor piercing capability. Goes straight through the tank. This is great for hitting specific vitals of a tank. It's great for sniping out units in the tank and preserving a tank. If you don't want to destroy a tank, use the green shell. For now, we are going to showcase it here. There we go. As you're going to see, it's going to go straight through the tank. I can click on the tank in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You're going to see I did damage to the hull, but I did end up sniping out the driving crew. The next one is going to be the HEAT, otherwise known as the heat round. Now, the heat round is notorious in World War II till now. It's actually a copper slug that burns its way through a tank. It is not based on velocity whatsoever. All it has to do is impact against the tank. Now, the friction going through the tank causes an explosion within, which can kill the crew, can take out multiple vitals in a tank. It is exactly the name, high explosive anti-tank, the heat round. One of my favorite rounds. Again, all you have to do is hit. The velocity is not all there, so you do need to lead a little bit if you are going to shoot something in stride. But it is absolutely devastating and can cook tanks pretty quickly. The last one is a smoke round. So there are two different types here. The first one is just a smoke round. What it does is it just cokes up a massive smoke round, which conceals whoever's within it or around it. A lot of times you're going to use this for soldiers moving up. You want to use it to protect the tank that just lost its tracks. You want to do it to, hit a view or the one view through a town or through a hedgerow that you don't want people to see. You'd use it in that fashion. However, there is the Willie Pete round. The Willie Pete is a smoke round. It's phosphorus. This is incredibly dangerous. It will burn hedgerows. It'll burn anything. It's great at killing soldiers on impact, but after that it turns into a smoke pile, just as normal. Do not breathe this in real life. It really does suck. Let's wait for this thing to go like this. I'll use it against the hedgerow right here, so you can see the effects. Literally, it catches stuff on fire. If you're around like anything that's wood or like a village of some sort, not against cobblestone homes, it's not going to work, or brick homes, it's not going to work. But anything that can be lit up, if there's a bunch of soldiers in the field, by all means, cook them. They will light on fire. It is incredibly dangerous. Don't use it on your own guys. Number 3 is arguably one of the most important things you can know in this game, and that's whether or not you can pen armor. In the middle of the screen, you're going to see a little red box. This box has a number in that box. What the number is based on is the armor piercing capabilities as well as the velocity at which the shell is going to go. However, this box is red, which means that it's not going to pen. So best case scenario, you shock the troop inside because of the impact. The worst case scenario, it does absolutely nothing, and now that tank knows that you're trying to kill it. However, if I aim over here to the broadside, you're going to notice that there is a green number. This means that I will break into the tank. Now, just because you break into the tank doesn't mean that the velocity of the shell is going to do a lot of damage inside of it. So the closer you are, based on velocity with this specific shell, the more damage you're going to do. However, if it's a bigger shell and a bigger tank, it is not going to do, it's middle of the road. It's a smaller shell. The 37 millimeter is not a big shell. So you can still do damage, but just keep that in mind when taking a shot. It also tells you the armor value, whether or not you're going to kill the person inside, like this machine gunner. Soft targets, easy to kill. Now, if I switch over to HE, what you're going to notice with HE is it doesn't give you a value because of the fact that it is just a high explosive. Doesn't really do anything. So just keep that in mind when you are firing. One other thing I could show you guys is the HE rounds also have an armor value. But that armor value, no matter how far away, I talked about this earlier already, but no matter how far away you are with HE rounds, it'll always be the same armor value. And we lost, apparently. But this, even so, even though that's a little comedy relief, that is how the shells work. Number 2 is based on trench warfare and smoke. I ain't talking about Marlboros, though I'm sure these soldiers are ready to pull out a cigarette or two. The thing is this. When taking these guys on, you have to be deadly efficient. And you also don't want to get caught in a kill zone, as I've set up here. So there's 2 ways that I feel most people try to go about this. The first way is use soldiers to go around, try to sneak around on them, get the advantage on them, distractions and so on, get the AI discombobulated. That's very possible. Another way is to do something like suppressive fire, which down at the right hand corner of the screen you're going to see attack options. You click on here, you can hit suppression fire. And they will fire all over, random barrages all over the place. This makes it so the enemy will put their head down, which personally, I would say is not my favorite. I think it needs to be more fleshed out before it actually can be utilized properly. But the way that I like to take them on the most to save time and energy is to smoke them out. Smoke is one of the greatest offenses and defenses in the game. In terms of the defense, if there's a tank down right here, you can throw a smoke in the hedge line, and as long as they lose their line of sight, you can go and fix that tank. You have a lot of options, really, to get it out of there. This also, being able to block their line of sight, allows you to move your soldiers across open area here that could be deadly. It allows you to also go into the smoke as such. When running into the smoke, you have a line of sight that you can see. You're going to notice these guys on the edge are more than likely going to get seen here. So you want to do it in a way that kind of groups them together better towards the middle. Then you're going to keep throwing smokes. The way technically to do this, and I already messed it up here, is when you're out here, you're going to crawl into the space. Crawl in. When laying down, that's your best stealth option. It makes it the hardest for them to see, and you can start getting closer. Now, I wouldn't do this in this exact setup just because there's so many eyes. If one soldier gets seen, it's over. But what you can do, because there's 20 smokes, is just keep chucking them. Chuck them to the point where there's nothing, they can't see anything. Don't feel worried about it. Whatever the case is. Smoke the whole field. This allows you to move up tanks, deadly items, and also get your mortars in range. Another way that you can take on trenches, of course, is with artillery. Artillery is a great way to do it. You don't have to be close, you just have to be able to see them. For the sake of this, I'm not going to fire this just yet, but what I will do is go back to the smoke round. Willie Pete, WP, is the phosphorus rounds. We talked about that already in the last one. Number 3. So while this is loading up, one of the things that you can also do is use your mortars. Once they load up the Willie Pete rounds, you can press F6 to attack the ground. There we go.
Loading round. Ready to roll.
F6. Have them just launch these Willy Pete rounds. Smoke. A lot of the other factions don't have the Willy Pete in every single one of these. It's literally just smoke rounds. But as you can see, their line of sight is very, very, very obscured right now. This allows you to run in. But just be careful not to get hit by these. Once the smoke's down, you tell them to stop. And as you can see, now they can't see anything. This allows us to get very close, set up how we want to, chuck grenades left and right at the enemy. It allows us to get our tanks in here. It allows us to go all the way around them. Smoke can get you behind the enemy without them seeing it. But yeah, this is one of the best ways to go about that. Another thing you can do as well is use your tanks. A lot of the US tanks do have smoke to some degree. And this is more precise, more precision shooting. So while we have this smoke cloud, it's pretty gnarly here. So being farther back, you can use these shells to precision fire a specific point. If you want to put them in the smoke, you can. Just like so. Also, we're going to light them on fire. They can chain react and light other soldiers on fire. This guy actually was a victim of that. And there's another soldier that's a victim of it. So, oh, this guy survived. What? He must have just gotten impacted by the shell. Anyways, so you can use your smokes. That's the Willy Pete. These are the ones that you're going to more commonly see. It's just the normal smoke. And this one is just going to billow out a cloud of smoke. So actually throwing it on the position is really powerful as well. And even more so. A lot of tanks, later World War II, actually, the Germans had it pretty early on as well. But they have, on my screen, you're going to see the bottom right hand, you're going to see the smoke screen. What happens is, it pops up a little smoke, you get a bunch of them, and that will protect your tank. If you get hit by a big shell through that hedgerow here, immediately just shoot one of these down, give yourself cover. This allows you to get your tank out of there, back up. Yeah, just obscure that line of sight. It's another defensive tactic. Smoke in this game, I think, is more prevalent than any game I've ever played. Smoke is such a massive part of this game. Last one here is this big shell here. The 155mm freaking Willy Pete. Disgusting. Light them on fire. But yeah, that one shell, if you bring it a little bit closer, is going to put a huge area. So like I said, smoke is massively important. It's going to give you a lot of strategy. It can get you closer to the enemy. AI is not the smartest thing in the world. If there's a smoke, they don't question what's going on. They just know that they can't see you, and that's what matters. And now for number one, the reason that I started making this video in the first place, and the reason I think it's so important, is because the number one question I get asked is, how do you get into first person, third person, and tactical view? Specifically first person. Let's be honest with ourselves right now. When you first started playing this game, you thought, World War II, that's cool. Wow, look at all these vehicles, that's cool. Wow, look at the weapons. Wow, there's an inventory system. Wow, there's this, that, the other, right? These things mattered so stinking much. However, the thing that hooked you was the fact that you could not only play this top-down real-time strategy game, but the fact that you could take over a soldier and actually play as them. You can get into a third-person view and feel like you're playing, you know, like a Hell Let Loose, except in third person, or because you want to zoom in over the shoulder, you want to fire the guns, you want to lay down, you want to chuck grenades randomly, you know, like, and actually see where it's going. The strategy behind this, incredible. That is one of the biggest reasons people started playing this game. How to do it, though, is the question. To take over a unit, all you have to do is start by pressing E. The first thing you normally will see is this tactical view. Tactical view is top down, really high top down. The strategy with this is that you can see over hedgerows, you can see through smoke, you can see through bushes, you can see exactly where you're shooting with a cone, the radius at which you can accurately fire at something. You can still move around, you can still do whatever, and you can zoom back in. This is very, very powerful, especially with tanks. But if you want to get into third-person view, you press T. Now, once you press T, it officially stays this way until you press T again. So if I click off this soldier, and I want to take over this tank, I'm still in that view. I'm not in a tactical view. The only time you get back into tactical view is if you press T again. Now I'm still in control of the tank, but I'm in that tactical view I was talking about. Let's go back. Now, in order to get into first person view, you need to use the scroll wheel. Scroll in. You can scroll in to the point where you're right behind the gunner, if you like that. Or you can scroll to where you're actually looking out the actual scope of the tank. Or you can zoom out and get back into third person. That is how you do it. Guys, I want to say thank you for all the support. For the series and stuff, for the games, everything. You guys have been incredible. The Gates of Hell community, I want to thank everybody there. You guys are ridiculously fantastic. And I hope I can continue to serve the community and help people get better at the game as well as understand it, because while there is a lot of micromanaging and while there is a lot of little bugs and there's little things where, you know, the pathing is off or whatever, there can be a lot of frustrating things. This game is a diamond in the rough and it's only going to get better. So with that, guys, thanks for coming out. If you did enjoy this, please do me a quick solid, hit the like, subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.